that repeats. Ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la, ya la 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 la, la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la, Shabbat Shalom. Ya la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la. You can even clap if you want. Ya la 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 la, la 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 la, that's it. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la. One more time. Ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la, la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Part two. Ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la. Little faster. Ya la 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 la, la 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 la. There we go. La 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 la. Ya la la la, ya la 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 la, la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, la 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 la.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
We are a small but mighty crew tonight. Small but mighty, which means that we need everybody to participate as much as possible with your snaps, your claps, your taps, and actually we're going to be much more informal tonight. I'm going to ask you lots of questions, and the hope is that you actually answer them. So not rhetorical questions, like passing you the mic, Donahue style, so that you can pipe in and tell us what you think. So we want to welcome everybody, the folks who are here and our digital viewers. If you're in the room, take a look at these two cameras above you, and you can see that that's where this service is being broadcast to who knows where, outside of this room. And we're glad that everybody's here. We want to give a special shout out and thanks to our members joining us this Shabbat. We all wouldn't be here without you. Cantor Lorna Desnick, Rabbi Spike Anderson. In a moment, I'll ask you to introduce yourselves. Make sure that you have your mask over your nose and your mouth. Your emergency exits are here and here. That's my stewardess impression. Here and here, okay? If you would turn off your cell phones and that's still your Apple Watches. If you're on Facebook, take a moment to give a shout out and let us know who you are and say Shabbat Shalom. And now, for the folks in here, let's take a moment and turn to the people around you and behind you, especially if you don't really know them. Hi, my name is. Good to see you. Ask me about my cat. Whatever it may be, let's really take a minute, a full minute or even two. I see the Mokatovs in the house. Good to see you. The Antons are here. Florsheims are here. Chowsers are here. Millers are here. Zollers are here. Wittensteins are here. Finfers are here. Lappins are here. The Boer's here. We got lots of friends here.
Lots of friends. Yeah, lie, 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 lie. Join with us. Yeah, lie, 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 lie. Yeah, lie, 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 lie. Yeah, lie. Oh, you all sound so beautiful.
All right, as we get started, Aiden, I'm going to ask you a favor. You know where my office is, right? Will you run to my office and tell the kids in my office it's time to come out? Okay? Tell them to hustle, and then you hustle back too. I know you can. All right, folks. So we've got a couple questions we're going to pose to you. Okay? In the Jewish world, this Shabbat, we begin the book of Shemot, which is the beginning of the Exodus story, the book of Exodus. It's our story about going from slavery to freedom. And in doing so, the world is changed forever. Tonight, as most of America gathers to celebrate Christmas, we Jews gather to celebrate Shabbat. And so this week, one of the age-old questions comes very much to the surface. In the 400 years when our Hebrew ancestors were enslaved in Egypt, how did they manage to maintain their Jewish identity? That's the question. Or posed differently, what kept us from total assimilation in those centuries where we were slaves? For even slaves, maybe especially slaves, can lose their distinctive identity. So what was it that kept us Jewish even when we were in shackles? It's a real question. What kept us Jewish even when we were in shackles? So Robert's got the microphone. I would love to know your answer, your guess. You're not getting graded. What kept us Jewish for the 400 years that we were shackled? Okay, we got a couple hands going up. Great.
I think an answer to this is stories.
Stories.
Stories have been passed down from generation to generation, and there had been a sense about God, and perhaps even the unity of God. And the only way they could really communicate, it seems to me, is by telling what they knew and what they heard from their parents.
Beautiful. Others? I think Julie's over here.
I think Norman and I have the same answer.
Okay.
I'm going to say stories and songs.
Stories and songs, which are easily transferred, easily taught, easily passed down. Good, good, good. Okay, we got another one right there with Todd.
I would say faith, but trust in their elders and the people that are the leaders of the Jewish identity.
Great. Okay, so some wisdom coming from the folks before and faith in that wisdom in those elders.
I'm going to look at it from sort of a different view altogether. And it sounds, I think, on the face of it, negative, but maybe it did us a favor. And that is, we were excluded from the society at large.
So society at large kept us out.
And kept us together.
Yeah, so the external forces around us are what bound us. Okay, we have one more over here, and then we're going to take a couple of deep breaths and light some Shabbat candles and go with our service.
Something I heard someone say last week was that a little bit of anti-Semitism is a good thing. because it gives you something that everyone can be mad about at the same time.
Yeah.
When someone sets out to destroy you, and this can be a teacher you hated or a parent who is after you, or the whole of Egypt. When someone sets out to destroy you, there are a couple of ways you survive. One is putting your head down, and one of them is defiance.
Great, and so that sort of riffs off of what Harriet said, some of those external forces. Great. I'm not going to tell you the answer that the rabbis come up with, because all these are good. I will tell you, but not this second. So what I'd like us to do is I want to take 3 deep breaths together. And what these deep breaths are going to do is they're going to bring us into this particular place and space of Shabbat. Okay? So find your feet on the floor. And feel that string on top of your head pulling you a little bit taller. And we take a first deep breath together. And let it out. Our second breath we take in together binds us to Jews entering Shabbat all over America. Deep breath in. And out. Our third deep breath in binds us with all life. Deep breath in. And we let it out. If you are at home and have not yet lit your Shabbat candles, get ready to do so. We're going to ask everyone to rise. We're on page 120, and our cantor is going to lead us in our bracha.
Every time I light the Shabbat candles, I think of Shamor v'Zachor, first verse of L'chadodi, Shamor v'Zachor, that we are the guardians, the keepers of Shabbat, and that we always must be mindful to remember to be those guardians. And we do so as we bring in that light and the energy and warmth of Shabbat together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. And we can have a seat. So as we move into our Shabbat service, I'd like to share with you a story. It's a kid's story that's been around for almost 700 years from Algeria. The story is meant for children, and the context is that the Jews of Algeria were in a place where they were a distinct minority. When Islam began to conquer in the couple hundred years since its inception, Jews had the choice to convert or die, or not just Jews, everybody did. The 3 groups that were given dhimmi status, which means protected minority status as long as you're paying taxes and getting out of the way, were the Jews, the Christians, and for 200 points, anyone know the third group? The Moors. The Moors were Muslims, but that's a good guess. The Zoroastrians, yes, Moses Anderson. Good, the Zoroastrians, very good. So these are the 3 people of the book that were given dhimmi status, but there was still incredible pressure to convert. So this is the children's story that comes from Algeria, the Jews of Algeria. I'll tell it in its brief form. There was a Jewish family, a mom and 5 kids. The oldest one was Jacob, 9 years old. The father had been killed years before. They were very poor, but very happy. And each Shabbat, they would gather together and they'd light their candles and they'd bless their challah and they'd sing their Shabbat songs. Jacob's favorite prayer was Shalom Aleichem. He loved the images of the Shabbat angels outside the window, looking in at his family, offering protection and comfort, asked to come in and rest for a while and then depart in peace. One day, a messenger came from faraway Egypt with a message for his mom. There was both good news and bad news. The bad news is, or was, that a long-lost relative had died. The good news is that the relative had left the mother an inheritance, if only she could go to Egypt to get it. The mother was downtrodden and anxious. How was she supposed to leave her family of 5 to go get this inheritance? But Jacob, who was very brave, said, "I'll do it." And so the mother arranged a cavern driver to take Jacob with the cavern to Egypt across the desert lands from Algeria. Before Jacob left, the mother made him promise that when the sun began to set on Friday night, that he would stop what he was doing, light Shabbat candles, say the blessings, and invoke the prayers of the ancestors. And so the cavern started across the desert, the caravan winding through the mountain desert sands. After days and days, finally Shabbat came around. As the sun began to set, Jacob asked the cavern driver to stop so he could say his prayers. The cavern driver refused. Jacob insisted. The cavern driver said, "Get off our caravan and do what you want." And so Jacob did. Alone in the desert, the sun beginning to set, he began to shiver, realizing that he was alone. He took out the small wax candles his mother had sent them, and saying the blessings, lit the Shabbat candles, raising the holiness of the day. With the small Kiddush cup and the small amount of wine, he said Kiddush. The small challah his mother had sent with him, he said Hamotzi. As he was getting ready for his blessings, he heard in the distance a roar. Silhouetted against the rising moon was a lion who came charging down across the desert sands. Jacob had nowhere to go, nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. And so in his desperation, he said the prayer that was next on his Shabbat list in his mind. He began to sing, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Asharet, Malachei Heyon. And the lion stopped. Mihi Melech, Malachei HaMalachim HaKadosh, Baruch Hu. The lion came nose to nose with the shivering Jacob. And the lion spoke, Jacob, I am the Lion of Algeria. The Shabbat angels have sent me to protect you as you have protected Shabbat. The story goes on with Jacob getting onto the lion's back, riding to Egypt, getting the inheritance, and bringing it home to his mother, who shared it out with all the neighbors. This story's been around for 700 years. It was a story meant for children who were under pressure with their families to convert out of Judaism to Islam. And the answer that the rabbis of Algeria brought to the people was that Shabbat was the answer. Keeping Shabbat was going to make it so that we could stay safe and Jewish, and just as we protected Shabbat, Shabbat would protect us. Friend, Shalom Aleichem can be found on page 142. If you'd like to come and light your own Shabbat candles as we sing this prayer, come on up and do it.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh, Baruch Hu. Boachem L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Ani l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech Malachei Hamlakim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzidchem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech Malachei Hamlakim HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
On page 138, we'll find Lecha Dodi, this amazing prayer written by the Kabbalists in Sfat in northern Israel, with the metaphor that the Jewish people and Shabbat is like the groom waiting for his bride, besheret, soulmates, meant to be together, and that each week we eagerly, as the sun is setting on Friday, await our Shabbat bride. Lecha Dodi can be found on page 138.
Ya la 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 Lecha Dodi, ya la 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 Likrat Kala, ya la 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 Pnei Shabbat, Pnei Shabbat Nikabela, ya la 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 Lecha Dodi, ya la 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 Likrat Kala, ya la 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 Pnei Shabbat, Pnei Shabbat Nikabela. Shamor v'zachor v'dibor echad Ishmianu el hamiyuchad Adonai echad v'shemo echad v'shemo tiferet v'litila Yalai lai Lecha Dodi, Yalai lai Likrat Kala, Yalai lai Pnei Shabbat, Pnei Shabbat Nikabela. Likrat Shabbat, Lechu B'nei Lecha, Ki him mikol haberacha, Merosh mikedem nesucha, Sof motzeh v'machshava techila. Yalai Lecha Dodi, Yalai Likrat Kala, Yalai Pnei Shabbat, Pnei Shabbat Nikabela.
We rise and face the door.
Boi v'shalom Ateret bala Gam besimcha Uvetzola Tochem muneh Am segula Boi chala Lecha Dodi, Yalai Likrat Kala, Yalai Pnei Shabbat, Pnei Shabbat Nikabila, yalla la 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 khadudi, yalla la 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 krad kolab, yalla la 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 penei Shabbat, Nikabila.
On page 147 in the English, let's pray this together. There is one who sings the song of his own life, finding everything within himself. There is one who leaves the circle of herself and sings the song of her people. There is one whose voice rings with the song of humanity, hoping for the highest perfection. And there is one who rises even higher, uniting with all creatures, with all worlds, filling the universe with song. Nivarech, let us bless. Baruch Hu 146. Shabbat moon high in the sky, your back inside cover you'll find, roll into dark.
Roll into dark, roll into light, night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light, night becomes day, day turns to night. Oreo, la la, Golelor mifnei choshech, Golelor mifnei choshech, v'choshech mifnei or. Roll into dark, roll into light, night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light, night becomes day, day turns to night.
Get settled, take a deep breath. Hands over eyes for the Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
Please be seated. On 155 in the English, let's pray this together. Love your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at work, whether you're tired or you are rested. Let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate. They are reminders to do all of my mitzvot, so that you can be holy for God. I am Adonai, your God. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai, your God. V'yahavta, page 154.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Page 159. We join together. Sing the song of men and women, joined in understanding and respect, the song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come, the song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content, her soldiers home to leave no more, the song of a world redeemed, the song of peace. 158, Micha Mocha.
Micha Mocha, Va'elim Adonai. Micha Mocha, Nedor B'Kodesh, that repeats. Micha Mocha, Va'elim Adonai. Micha Mocha, Nedor B'Kodesh. They sang two songs of joy. Who is like you, Adonai? Micha Mocha, Micha Mocha, Va'elim Adonai. Micha Mocha, Nedor B'Kodesh. Micha Mocha, Va'elim Adonai. Micha Mocha, Nedor B'Kodesh.
Okay, another real question. This one you can just shout out because they're going to be one-word answers, I think, or two-word answers. What's bothering you? What are you fearful of these days? What's on your mind? What do you seek God's protection for? Robert. Omicron. Okay, fearful of democracy being under attack. What else? Everyone's got something. What's fearful for you? What are you worried about? Okay, so somebody's health? Yeah. Okay, what else? School shootings. Okay, even if you're not calling out, you got something. Everyone? What is it? Your safety. Yeah, for sure. Everyone's got these. This next prayer, Hashkivenu, which you're going to find in 161. Nope. You're going
160.
160. There it is, 160. Our Hashkivenu prayer is the prayer about just that. It's asking for God's Sukkat Shalom, God's sukkah of peace and protection to be upon us for these things that are keeping us nervous, anxious, fearful. Some are very real and very much in our presence and in our lives. Hashkivenu, friends, 160.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu L'Shalom V'Hamidenu Shomreinu L'Chaim Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu L'Shalom V'Hamidenu Shomreinu L'Chaim Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu L'Shalom V'Hamidenu Shomreinu L'Chaim Ushmor Tzitenu Uvoenu L'Chaim U'Shalom Me'ata Me'Adonai.
Let's hear you. Here we go.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu L'Shalom V'Hamidenu Shomreinu L'Chaim Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu L'Shalom V'Hamidenu Shomreinu L'Chaim V'Hamidenu Shomreinu L'Chaim.
At the end of tonight's sermon, I'm going to ask you a question, and I'll give you a chance to answer with everyone, okay? So be ready. I'm going to call on you. When studying this week's Torah portion, the rabbis ask what kept us Jewish while we were enslaved in Egypt. They also put it differently when they ask what kept us going through that brutal grind. What kept us going through the times when we felt depressed or fatigued. The answer for all these was Shabbat. Now let me be clear, you won't find a concrete proof text in the Torah itself that Jews kept Shabbat while we were enslaved in Egypt. For sure, you'll find Shabbat referred to through its Shin Bet Taf root, its Shoresh, Shabbat, before we were enslaved, in our creation story, where God, Vayishbot, rested, abstained from working, appreciated from God's first 6 days of labor and making the world. Listen for it when Cantor chants it when the time comes for Kiddush. And for sure, we're commanded to keep Shabbat once we leave Egypt, even before we receive the Ten Commandments at Mount Sinai. Adonai Shabbaton, Shabbat Kodesh la Adonai Machar. Tomorrow is a rest day, a holy day for God. When we do get to Mount Sinai, God emphasizes the importance of Shabbat for us as part of the Ten Commandments. The representation is up here. If you look at the fourth one with the Shabbat candles, that's what that is. You've got the Ten Commandments on either side of us here. Achzor et Yom HaShabbat lekodsho. Remember the Shabbat day and make it holy. Certainly, once we've received Torah and are journeying towards Israel, keeping Shabbat is a running theme. However, in the 400 years when we are enslaved in Egypt, there's nothing specific that indicates that we did keep Shabbat, and in turn, that Shabbat saved us from despondency and even extinction. However, there is one line uttered by Pharaoh in this week's Torah portion that gives our sages a hint. It occurs in Exodus chapter 5, verse 5, when Moses and Aaron come before Pharaoh for the first time to demand that Pharaoh let our people go. Pharaoh retorts to them and says, "Behold, the people of the land are numerous, and you would have them, vahish batem, cease from their burdens." There we see that same shin, bet, taf, shoresh, the root of Shabbat. And for our sages, it was enough for them to make the assertion that yes, the Israelites kept Shabbat for the 400 years of our slavery, and that it was Shabbat that kept them Jewish, saved them from despair, and gave them hope for the future. However, even though the rabbis of old assert that Jews kept Shabbat through slavery, they stopped short of claiming that our enslaved ancestors were able to observe Shabbat by ceasing all work. After all, we were slaves, and we were first forced to toil under shackle and whip. So it seems unlikely that the Egyptians gave us a day off a week. And so the assertion is made that our ancestors kept Shabbat in small ways, ways that they could manage. Perhaps this meant that they would light candles to demarcate the day, even exhausted at the end of a brutal week. Or that they would make sure to gather together to pray, even if it meant that they had to do so in secret. Or that they would reserve certain foods or wear their cleanest clothing to show that Shabbat, their Sabbath, was special. Surely they had restrictions, and so they did what they could do in the circumstances in which they found themselves. In later centuries, when the rabbis who claimed that even before Exodus our ancestors kept Shabbat, they did so because slavery provided the hyperbolic example for every Jew. It was such an extreme circumstance that it served as an inspiration to, and even giving permission for, Jews living in each age throughout history to do what they could in the circumstances that they found themselves. Sometimes the forces that kept us from being Jewish were hostile and violent, like the Spanish Inquisition. At other times throughout our history, the forces that kept us from being Jewish were actually the temptations to be like everyone else, what we would call total assimilation. Torah tells us that the biggest danger to our existence, once we enter the land of milk and honey, would not be the enemies who wanted to do us harm, but rather the success that we would have there. For in that success, we might forget the lessons that got us to where we are, and some of us might let our distinctiveness fall away. Tonight, when Shabbat falls on Christmas Eve, we see another hyperbolic example of temptations and assimilation. Will we light the Shabbat candles and say Kiddush and pray together as a community? Or will our efforts be spent trying to be like everyone else, celebrating something that is very much not ours, even if we justify it as a secular American celebration? Now, clearly, those here with us tonight, in person and online, have made a choice. And I'm preaching to the literal choir. Usually, I abstain from being judgy. But when I hear about so many Jews who are putting all their energy into celebrating Christmas rather than Shabbat, I have some judgment. Perhaps it's a reflection of the times more than a reflection of personal choices. But I fear that it means that many are in danger of forgetting who they are, how they got here, and where we are going. Exempt from this, in my mind, would be couples who are interfaith, for this may be part of their marital homeostasis. But for me, they should be the exception, not the rule. This Shabbat, as we study Shemot, it would be fair to ask the question, what did it really matter if our ancestors kept Shabbat while enslaved in Egypt? And to this, our sages would remind us that by keeping Shabbat, Jews kept the darkness of the times from seeping into their souls. Then it was shackles. Today, it might be COVID. But there usually is something out there which threatens our well-being. Our tradition tells us that each week, no matter what, we remembered that it was Shabbat. And we celebrated it in some way. We made it special in some way. And it kept us from falling over the edge. For our ancestors, Shabbat kept them looking forward. Shabbat kept their eyes up. Shabbat reminded them that they were more than their situation. They were enslaved, but they were not slaves. They were beings with an elevated spirit, and they mattered. Shabbat reminded us that no matter what was happening around us, our Jewish story was something that connected us, not only to a common history, but to a common destiny, where one day we and the world around us would prioritize freedom and justice and love. Not just for us, for everyone. You'll see this message in our Aleinu prayer when we open the ark at the end of the service. So, what's the takeaway from tonight's sermon? Rather than tell you, I'm asking you, what is the takeaway from tonight's sermon? So take a moment to think about it, and then I will invite you to share. You can whisper to your neighbor if you like to, if you want to get some ideas out. Really, we're going to do some sharing. What's the takeaway? Okay, Robert. I would love to hear, the kids. I'd love to hear from kids and adults. So why don't we do this? Say your name. Say your name as we go through.
My name is Leah.
Hi, Leah.
Hi.
What's the takeaway?
I'll always remember my Jewish heritage.
Always remember your Jewish heritage. Great. Good sharing. I like that. What else? What's the point? Okay, we got two up front.
Well, if the Jews could celebrate, Shabbat while they were slaves, I could certainly make time on a Friday night to come through.
Yeah, and that's that hyperbolic example. That's the Vorah. Make sure you say your name, everybody, okay?
Hi, it's Karen. I'm going to join with Devorah to say by keeping Shabbat, it will help see us through all of this.
Yeah. Here we are. We're going through some tough times. I mean, we just kind of one after the next after the next. This is the type of thing that gets us through with our heads up, our eyes open, knowing that there is a proverbial light at the end of the tunnel. We're not defined by these circumstances and dragging us down. Yes, thank you.
I'm Susan, and keeping Shabbat is what will help. But sometimes lighting a simple candle, not feeling like you have to do everything when you're overwhelmed, but doing a little something is better than nothing.
Yeah, I mean, it might be enough. Something. Do something. Right. Good. Okay. Making Robert get his steps in today.
My name's Lily Anderson. So I think what this sermon is about is just to be kind, and it's just the little things that count. Like, you don't have to make a whole big feast on Shabbat. You just gotta do something.
Great. Good job, Lo. Others.
Hi, my name's Julie. I was just going to say that to me, this sermon speaks to when my heart is filled with the most joy or when my heart is filled with the most sadness, I rely on tradition, my Jewish tradition, to get me through that, even if it's something small. It could be closing my eyes and thinking about something from Musar. It could be lighting a Shabbat candle. But I find when I'm the most elevated, and then when I need the most pick-me-up, I go back to my roots. I go back to my tradition.
Beautiful. For folks who are online, feel free to share with us as we continue to share in the sanctuary. Got a couple over here. I saw Nora's hand and Karen's hand. And, yep, right in the back. Yep.
My name is Conrad, and I feel very lucky and happy to be here. And I thank you, Rabbi, and certainly the beautiful girls singing. But I feel that these people here are all my friends, and I'm happy to be here at age 91.
Right. I'm glad to have you. A couple more.
My name is Nora, and I think another aspect of celebrating Shabbat is letting my children and grandchildren know that it's important to me, and let that be part of my story.
Yeah. Great.
I'm not Nora, I'm Norman. In light of the parasha you have shared with us tonight, I conclude about the heritage, the omnipresence, the simplicity, and the significance of Shabbat.
Beautiful. We got right in the back, Robert.
Hi, my name is Harry, and my thought was, I'll expand on what Norm said, is almost what I was going to say, that the Jewish faith and traditions are always going to be there, and a prime example of that always has been and always will be Shabbat.
Beautiful. So I would encourage, one more over here. That's what's nice about this time of year. We can slow it down a little bit. We really can share.
My name is Sharon, and it brings me closer to my family, even though we're not all together. I know what we are all doing within the same time frame.
Beautiful. Okay, and last one. There we go, right there in the black. I'm easy. I'm a pushover, so.
I think there's a metaphor here that, I mean, certainly Shabbat is a literal thing, and it's part of our tradition and part of the way that we celebrate our tradition, but I think it also stands for a space in your life where you can take a moment and breathe and look for your humanity. And Lord knows, I can't imagine how many people in here have been in a place where they've been under fire and they can't find that space. I think this is a sort of, we stay alive to find that space, and the possibility of finding that space keeps us alive. But also, the way we find that space is by making the choice to do one small thing.
Yes.
That space doesn't simply occur.
That's right. It's available, but we have to make the choice. Very good. Okay, I would encourage everyone to keep talking about this at your leisure after services or at home or with your friends. But for the moment, Vishamru is on page 162, where we lionize and raise up the fact that we are, on this evening, celebrating Shabbat together.
Mishameru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat, la'asot et HaShabbat l'dorotam berit olam. Berit olam, b'nei Yisrael, oti leolam, b'nei Yisrael, oti Vishameru, Vishameru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat, la'asot et HaShabbat l'dorotam. Berit olam.
Ask everyone to rise for our Amidah on page 164. Cantor will lead us invoking the words of our heart to lead to the prayers from our lips, and then we'll do the whole Amidah silently, coming out of our silent Amidah with Shalom Rav.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise.
Feel free to use the words in your prayer book or the words in your heart. 178.
Shalom Rav Al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech Adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav Al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam.
We can be seated. I call up Co-President Robert Wittenstein to share some announcements with us.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
A week from tonight, the 31st of December, we will once again celebrate Shabbat. And we will have a couple of things that are a little out of the ordinary. One, we will have champagne after services for anybody who would like to have a little bit. And at 9 o'clock, we will do a kids' countdown for the new year. So if you want to bring your kids, they can have some juice. We'll do a little early countdown for New Year's. Should be a lovely evening. January 10th through 17th is our Green Week. And it corresponds with Tu B'Shvat, the tree planting holiday of the Jews. And we have several things planned that I want to encourage you to attend. First, I'm going to talk about 2 TE talks that are going to occur that week. And I want to give a shout out to Harriet Zoller, who is our TE Talks coordinator for making the arrangements. On January 12th, we have Joanna Kibbe-Lifker, who is the chair of the JP in Georgia, Jewish Climate Action Network of Georgia, who will be talking with us about environmental activism through a Jewish lens. And then the next night, the 13th, we're going to have Mark Elliott, who is a climate scientist with the Weather Channel, who is going to be talking about the state of the planet and what we can do about it. And then on January 17th, which is Monday, MLK Day, we will be part of a community-wide effort to plant trees at Brook Run Park here in Dunwoody. So I would encourage you all to go on our website, register for any and all of them. It should be a really very rewarding week, and I wish you all a Shabbat Shalom.
Thanks, Robert.
Shabbat Shalom.
Thanks, Robert. Okay, friends, so it is time for our Shihakyanu Moments. If you have a simcha in your life, something that has just happened, is happening, is about to happen, we encourage you to stand up and say your name and say what your simcha is. For instance, my name is Spike Anderson, and I've got all 3 of my kids hanging out around the house over winter break, and I'm very happy about that. That's my simcha, that I get to see a little bit more of them. Others? Go ahead, Marvin.
I'm Marvin Goldstein. My youngest daughter made headmaster's list again, which means it's straight A's for this past semester.
Great. Super, super.
I can talk loud enough. I'm Sharon Frank.
But they won't hear you online if you don't use the microphone.
Oh, okay. I'm Sharon Frank. My one and only granddaughter will be 1 year old on December 29th, 2 days after my birthday.
Okay, great. That's
my
fun.
birthday present. Thank you.
I'm Ariane Belzer Carroll, and our son's adoption paperwork went through recently, so we get to keep them.
Hey, great. That's a really big deal.
My name is Harry Dunn, and just had a checkup for getting a pacemaker a year ago, and all is good.
Great, Harry. So glad to hear it. Others?
My name is Leah Trosmer, and I'm happy that I'm fully vaccinated.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
My name is Devora, and this is about me because I don't have kids. So, I am pleased to be the new ESL specialist for the Emory Candler School of Theology.
Wow.
Wow.
I'm Al Finfer, and Penny and I spent a couple of days at Chateau Elan this week to celebrate our 35th anniversary.
Just a reminder, folks, to keep your masks on while you're making the announcement so everybody's not using the same bare microphone.
I'm Moses, and I'm excited to watch a Falcons game with my dad on Sunday.
Yeah. Okay. Got one more. We got two more right there.
I'm Jamie Chosmer, and tonight's my grandmother's yurt site. I'm really glad that my daughter Leah said she wanted to come with me.
Isn't that nice? It's a nice quality of time. Yeah.
I'm Cheryl Miller, and my granddaughter finally called me Nana.
That's great. So if you are, Tammy up front.
I'm Tammy, and my sister has been ill for a while, and she's starting to do a lot better now. So
That's great,
Tammy. For that.
So if you are a bar bat mitzvah student and you're here online, this is where you say your name, you say what you're thankful for. If you're here live in the sanctuary for credit, make sure you come see Cantor afterwards so she can log you in. So friends, let's say our Shihakyanu prayer, page 648, where we thank God literally that we're here, that we're breathing, we're together. May we have this type of simcha, this type of time again and again and again.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh.
Misha Barak prayer you'll find on page 371. This is the prayer we ask for a healing for those in our lives who need it. A prayer of mind, or a healing of mind, of body, of soul, of relationship. Congregation asks for a refuah shlema for our Ellen Young, Stuart Young, Sandy Geller, Pesha Rachel, Caitlin Sylvie, Levi Sylvie, Bruce Mencher, Brett Samsky, Mayor Ben Rachmael Vendina, Yetta Bat Yosef, Lev Miriam, Ashish Sharma, Howard Ackerman, Ken Schiffer, Helen Ray, Kathy Cook, Ludmila Koven, Michelle Lappin, Florence Rosenberg, Nella Kurtzer, Bill Kolbersch, Lillian Olderson, Eric Sylvie, Alan Price, Tim Clark. If you would like to say Misha Bera for someone in your life, and it could be you, please say the name either out loud or in your heart as my eyes meet yours. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, as is the Minhag HaMakom, we rise, and if you're comfortable putting your arms around around the folks who are next to you, please do so. If you are without someone to put arms around, feel my arms around yours.
Misheberach avotenu mikor habracha leivotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach imotenu mikor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Refuah shlema. Please remain standing for Kiddush. You'll find on page 123. If you are home, bring out your special Kiddush cup so we can sanctify the day.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu. V'shabbat kodsho b'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit. Ki hu yom techila lemikrae kodesh, zecher litziat Mitzrayim. Kivanu v'acharta, v'otanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim. V'shabbat kodshecha, v'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh hashabbat. Amen. L'chaim.
L'chaim l'bracha, to life with blessings. Okay, so Cantor and I are going to put our masks on so that we can invite up our kids to come on up. Anybody who's not yet had bar or bat mitzvah under the age of 14, come on up and open the ark. Elena can be found on page 586. Come on up. That ark's not going to open itself. There you go. Up, up, up. There you go.
Go ahead.
All right. One of you on either side. Ready? Open the ark. Go ahead. Thank you, Lulu.
Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon, ha'kol point towards you. La'teit k'dava le'otzer, Bereshit, they've all forgotten it because it's been 2 years. Shelo asanu k'goyei ha'aratzot, ve'lo samanu k'mishpechot ha'adama. Shelo sam chalkeinu kahem, ve'gor aleinu k'chol hamonam. V'anachnu korim, u'mishachavim u'modim, lifnei melech Malchei HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, V'nemar, V'chaya Adonai, L'melech al kol haaretz, Bayom hahu, Yeh Adonai echad, U'shemo,
We're to close the ark. Good job. Okay. Everyone can have a seat, please. If you're ready to conclude our service with the Mourner's Kaddish, which you'll find on page 598. We say the mourner's Kaddish towards the end of the service and include it in the service in order to elevate the time and our memory. In Shloshim, we have the families of Mort Slutsky, Ollie Markusen, and Addie Greenberg. Yard sites this Shabbat for Edward Bashuk, Anna Bashuk, Ruth Burl, Sylvia Berman, Harry Cohen, Amy Cohen-Callow, Bernice Cutler, Frank Elkin, Arnold Ellison, Sylvia Feldman, Sylvia Fink, Mark Fisher, Emmett Frank, Mildred Gerson, Richard Granith, Ruth Hochberg, Ann Horowitz, Israel Katz, Michael Kramer, Howard Kuttner, Martha Liederman, Emanu-El Lubin, Morris Mosescu, Stephen Niger, Benjamin Passman, Lynn Pollock, Adele Schmid, Rose Schwam, Jerry Sherman, Alvin Schoenig, Albert Simpkins, Ruth Spiller, Adele Tompkins. If you are in the Shloshim period of mourning, the first 30 days after a loved one's passing, I invite you to rise now, either in the sanctuary or in your homes. Please remain standing. If you're in the first year of mourning a loved one's passing, we ask you to rise now. That way you can be recognized. Please remain standing. If you are commemorating the yard site, the death anniversary of a loved one's passing this Shabbat, we ask you to rise now. If it is your custom to rise in solidarity, or for the 6 million who have no one to say Kaddish for them, we ask that you do so now. Take a moment and picture the person you are saying Kaddish for in your mind. See them healthy and hale. Have your eyes meet theirs, their eyes meet yours. And together, you slowly smile. Mourner's Kaddish 598. Yikada v'yikada shmei Rabbah. Ve'amad yivrach yirteh, ve'yamlich malchuteh, v'chayechon yigomechon, v'chayedecho Beit Yisrael, pagalav yizman kariv v'imru, amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitraman v'yitnaseh. Vita dar, vita le, vita la shmei dekutsha, b'richu. Ha'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, damiram be'omah v'yimru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'yimru, amen. Osei shalom b'imrumav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'yimru, amen.
Osei shalom b'imrumav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, amen. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.